You know, every great data analysis starts with the exact same challenge. You've got this mountain of raw data, and you have to find a clear, compelling story inside of it. So, how do you find those hidden patterns? Well, in the next few minutes, we are going to master one of the most powerful tools for doing exactly that. We've all been there, right? Staring at a spreadsheet that looks something like this, just a wall of rows and columns. You know there's information in there, but what is it actually trying to tell you? Take a look. We've got a bunch of ice cream flavors, their base, and some ratings. I can see some vanilla, some chocolate, but which one's better on average? Which one has more variety? Just looking at it like this, it's pretty much impossible to say. The whole goal is to turn all that noise into a clear signal, to take all those individual data points and just boil them down into something clean, simple, and really, really powerful. This is what we want. A simple summary that answers a specific question loud and clear. And the key, the absolute magic wand that makes this leap from messy rows to a powerful summary, is one of the most fundamental operations in all of data analysis, the group by. So, to really get this, we need a strategy. This isn't just about mashing keys and writing code, it's about thinking in a structured way. Let's break down the mental model that makes this whole thing work. And here it is, split, apply, combine. This three-step process is the core logic behind every single group by you'll ever do. First, you split your data into different groups. Then you apply some kind of calculation to each of those groups. And finally, you combine all those results back together. So for our ice cream data, first we split all the rows into a chocolate bucket and a vanilla bucket. Easy enough. Then we apply a function, let's say we calculate the average reading, to each bucket, all on its own. Finally, we combine those two results into that clean summary table we saw earlier. Split, apply, combine. Once you get that, I promise everything else just clicks right into place. All right, with that strategy in our back pocket, let's actually put it into practice. We're going to start by answering some simple but super important questions from our data. This is a classic business question, right? We have all these raw ratings, but we need an overall winner. Which base flavor is, on average, the fan favorite? And boom! With a single command, we get instant clarity. By grouping all the ratings by their base flavor and then just taking the average, we see a clear winner. Chocolate base flavors have an average rating of 8.67, while vanilla is kind of trailing behind at 5.5. But hold on, an average can be a little misleading sometimes. Before we go and declare chocolate the undisputed champion, a good analyst always asks a follow-up question. What was our sample size? And here's that crucial piece of context. When we simply count the number of flavors in each group, we see we only had 3 chocolate flavors to test versus 6 vanilla ones. Now, this doesn't mean our first finding was wrong, but it definitely makes you think. The count is a totally vital piece of the story. And here's a cool little tip. This stuff isn't just for numbers. Functions like min and max also work on text, but they do it alphabetically. It's just a neat little detail to keep in mind for other kinds of analysis you might be doing. Okay, calculating one metric at a time is useful, for sure, but it's not very efficient. What if we want to create a little mini dashboard, to see several summaries all at the same time? I mean, doing a group by for the mean, then another one for the count, and then another for the sum, it gets so repetitive. Luckily for us, there's a much more elegant way to do this. And that solution is the aggregate method, or as you'll type it, .aggregate. This thing is your power tool for generating really rich summaries. It lets you specify all the calculations you want to do in one single clean command. Just look at this. In one single step, we can generate a powerful summary dashboard. By asking for the mean, the max, the count, and the sum all at once, we get this beautiful wide table. This is how you create a really comprehensive overview super efficiently. So, we've grouped by a single category, base flavor. But let's be honest, the real world is a lot more complex. It's time to level up and see how we can add more layers to our analysis to uncover even deeper insights. Okay, here's a more nuanced question for you. We know that chocolate has a higher average rating overall, but what happens if we also factor in whether I explicitly liked the flavor or not? This is going to require grouping on 2 columns at the same time. And whoa, the result is fascinating. By grouping on both columns, we get this layered view, what Pandas pros call a multi-level index, and the real story just jumps right off the page. For vanilla, we can now separate the liked flavors from the disliked ones. And look at that. The vanilla flavors that were liked had an average rating of 8.5, which is almost identical to chocolate. The problem was never vanilla itself. It was just one bad apple spoiling the bunch. Now that's an insight you would completely miss without this deeper grouping. So let's just pull back for a second and review the journey we've been on. We started with this jumbled mess of raw data, and step by step, we built a framework for pulling out clear, actionable insights. This right here is your playbook. Always, always start with a clear question. Then use GroupBy to split your data based on the categories that matter for that question. Apply the right aggregation, whether it's a simple one like .mean or a whole dashboard with .ag. And finally, the most important part, look at the result and find the story. We started this with a simple question about ice cream, and we ended up with a really surprising story. This playbook isn't just a coding technique. It's a powerful way of thinking. It's how you go from being a data janitor to a data storyteller. So the real question is, what hidden stories are just waiting for you to uncover?